What is good? Osiris here, stuck in the middle. And sometimes you can test somebody and you can figure out they can pack a bigger punch than you might have thought. So I would be careful. I'm always cautious. You don't know who you're messing with out here in these streets or all this stuff. I'm always for peace. You don't know what somebody's carrying with them, what type of weapon, what kind of martial arts training, all kinds of stuff like that. I can't fight. I need to stay out of that kind of stuff. The U.S. has a different take on it. We think in the U.S. we are the big bad bully or police, depending on your perspective. Russia is trying to warn us by saying, stop giving arms to Ukraine. Can you imagine you're getting into, think you're playing a video game and you're doing a battle. It's my team versus this other team. And your team keeps running out of ammo and you need to re-up and pay money to get more ammo. But the other team seems to just get an infinite supply of ammo. And then you figure out, wow, I've got a situation here on my hand. Somebody's giving the guys I'm going against ammo. And then at some point you might say, let me forget about this person for a second and let me mosey on over and holler at you who's giving him unlimited ammo. And that's what's happening here. The R team. This is how we're watching these things online. I'm going to talk about the Moskova battleship that sunk. The Moskova, is that how you pronounce it? Moskva battleship. And people are making jokes like, oh, you sunk my battleship. We're watching, there's Twitter accounts that post these videos and on Reddit as well, where you're literally watching tanks blow up buildings and tanks getting blown up and people like TikToking war. And you're watching it like you're on Twitch watching someone play Call of Duty. So some people are rooting for the R team. Some people are rooting for the U team. Some of us only care about the A team. Russia warns us to stop it, to stop arming. The formal diplomatic note from Moscow, a copy of which was reviewed by the Washington Post, came as President Biden approved a dramatic expansion in the scope of weapons being provided to the government in Kiev. I can understand that. I don't give a crap about the R team or the U team, but if I'm analyzing the situation from the standpoint of our team, I can understand the concern. And forget about the R or the U. What about me? What about us? Why are we even providing the U with this kind of thing? That's the only reason this is going on, is because they're getting basically an unlimited supply. That's why Russia this week sent that formal note to the United States warning that U.S. and NATO shipments of the most sensitive weapons systems to Ukraine were adding fuel to the conflict there and could be responded with or could bring unpredictable consequences. So this is like you're playing poker, except with everyone's lives, with the lives of people who are on the bottom of the totem pole first. You're the first to starve if you're on the bottom. You're the first to go in any type of situation, not even nuclear, just famine or anything else, inflation even. In this document here, they said that, hey, it came as President Biden approved $800 million more. I don't know what happened to the 14 bill. I don't know if it could be in installments. I didn't really dig deeper into that story, but I know that Congress approved 14 billion already. And this is another 800 million. This is including howitzers, 155 millimeter howitzers, a serious upgrade in long range artillery to match Russian systems, coastal defense drones, and armored vehicles, as well as additional portable anti-aircraft and anti-tank weapons and millions of rounds of ammunition. We're keeping this thing afloat. Why are we doing that? If they can't do it, they're not in NATO. So why are they in this like lesser subscription plan? Like they're not in the NATO Pro version, but they're in the NATO Lite. Why? The United States has also facilitated the shipment to Ukraine of long-range air defense systems, including Slovakia's shipment of Russian-manufactured Soviet-era S-300 launchers on which Ukrainian forces have already been trained. In exchange, the administration announced last week the United States is deploying a Patriot missile system to Slovakia and consulting with Slovakia on a long-term replacement. So if Russian forces stumble in the next phase of the war, as they did in the first, they said, then I think the chances are Russia targets NATO supplies. This is where I said the scenario is you're going up against somebody else. At some point, I'm going to look at the supply man. Because if I don't cut off the supplies, then I'm going to be out of ammo by the time I need to do anything. So I will lose, even if I'm a stronger opponent. There's been an assumption on the part of a lot of us in the West that we could supply the Ukrainians really without limit and not bear significant risk of retaliation from Russia. I think the Russians want to send a message here that that's not true. It's just common sense. There's nothing, anybody could see that that's a problem. If you just read and use your own God-given ability to analyze a situation. U.S. officials, Russian warship Moskva sunk by Ukrainian missile attack. This is the one where I talked about that many people were treating this like it was a game of Battleship back in the 80s. You might have seen that ad. The famous commercial where the dad's like, you sunk my battleship. This was not a joke. It's an escalation. The Moskva warship sinking cost about $700 million. Estimated almost $800 million loss for the Russian military. That's about the same amount that Biden is approving to go to Ukraine right now in weapons. So when you look at a battle, it's almost like you were about to score a touchdown, but no, you fumbled and the other team brought it back. It's a 14-point swing because you could have got 7 points. You didn't, and the other team did. So here, Russia loses $800 million, which I couldn't care less. But when you look at from their standpoint, they're getting more desperate. You lose $800 million. U.S. gives your opponent $800 million. That's a swing of $1.6 trillion about. Some asshat on Twitter replied to me, and I might be a good person, but this is an asshat comment. Said, or because I was talking about, well, you know what, we might be pushing them towards nuclear war. Do you think? Can I just bring it up? Is it a topic worth discussing? Maybe, I don't know. The end of the world might be something we'd want to avoid and not even risk over the R&U teams. And then someone says, or we know they have a Potomkin military, basically Fugazi, fake frauds. They have a fraud military, huh? Estimated global nuclear warhead inventories. Let's just get to the real deal. You can talk about troops. You can talk about these tanks and all these other things. When you look at the map, estimated global nuclear warhead inventories. Let's look at who the bosses are of nuclear war and the potential destruction of our world. Oh, there's two, U.S. and Russia. So you would look at the map and think, those are probably the two that you don't want to have beef with, right? Or you don't want them to have beef with each other. Russia 6,000. Not all of them are active, but totals they got them. That's 6,000 nuclear warheads, more than the United States. In the Cold War, this is according to the Federation of American Scientists. In the Cold War, I believe I read that Russia had upwards of 45,000 nuclear warheads. So I guess there's progress, huh? How Russia beat America to the hypersonic missile. This just happened in March. It's like feels like it was memory hold as well. Nearly 1 month into the invasion of the U, a Russian Air Force MiG-31B took to the skies bearing a 26-foot white rocket against its belly, bound for an ammunition depot in western Ukraine. They might wrap one of those for a NATO country. And once that happens, it's full-blown, no more proxy. It's just full-out direct conflict. It's 26-foot white rocket to this weapon, man. We are going to destroy the world. This type of rocket, dubbed the KH-47M2 Kinzhal dagger in Russian, had only been fired twice in the history of the world, both times as a test. This one wasn't a test. It was its first appearance. It's confirmed in active conflict. Beating the U.S. The U.S. has never fired this. So the U.S. doesn't even have it yet. They can't even match it right now. So this is the Fugazi Potemkin army that you're referring to. Man, the army is more than one thing. I used to play StarCraft back in the day, and when I used the Terrans, the human race, we used to play with unlimited resources, but I would just put up a bunch of defenses and build a ton of ghosts. And these ghost people were nuclear bombs. So I didn't have a big troop. I couldn't really run up on someone's base and like overtake it. I was just protecting my base, mining minerals, building up these ghost people who could drop nukes. And then if you didn't come and take me out quickly enough, at the end of the game, it was like boom, 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 nukes just all over the place. It didn't matter that I didn't have troops. If you let me do this long enough, I can do something. And if I didn't win, which was very hard to win with this race in the game, there's 3 different races you can pick. It's very hard to win with this race. So sometimes people would come through the base and I didn't have much in there other than the nukes. So if you're going to come in and I know you're going to eliminate me within 5 to 15 minutes, I just set my ghosts out and still dropped whatever nukes I had. This isn't much different. If you don't trust me, and because I'm just some dude in my basement, don't take my word for it. The CIA chief says the U.S. cannot take lightly threat Russia could use nuclear weapons. No shit. What, I need a CIA chief to tell me that? I'm going to end with this. Political discomfort replied on my tweet, said, didn't the hyperbolic crowd say that at the end of the world would be avoided if only we voted blue no matter what? And a few times, if the opportunity presents itself, if you are a ballot harvester, then can you help someone fill out their ballot while electioneering is partisan? We did it, Joe. And the president right now is having allegedly birds shitting on his shoulder, trying to shake hands with the invisible ghosts, and he's just a bumbling idiot. The adults are in the room. Let me know what you think. Take care.